Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Gabriel Santos from gfsantos.com. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you this experience I had recently, which is, I smoked weed for 4 days in a row. And that was the most weed I consumed in that short of a period of time in a long time. And that's the most days in a row that I've smoked weed. And just so if you haven't wondered, if you've been following me, I have a lot of different looks, guys. Sometimes I wear a beanie, sometimes my hair is nice. Today, my hair is all jacked up. I had a crazy workout in the morning at the beach, and I didn't take a shower since then, so hence the hat, okay? Anyway, so some context for this video. For those who've been following or for those that don't know, I used to smoke every day for like 8 years, and it got to a point where I felt like I was addicted, meaning I felt like I didn't have control. And not only did I not have control, different areas of my life started to downward spiral, and there seemed to be a connection between me not having control with weed and me having a lack of performance in my life, okay? And so it took me a while to kind of get out of that hole, a hole that I know a lot of people who are watching these videos are in or were in. And what never worked for me was quitting for life. That never worked for me because I enjoy weed, and I don't think smoking weed is a bad thing, even if you're someone who demonstrates addictive behavior, that it's really less about like weed and more about yourself, and like you discovering that weed is not the issue, it's something within, so to speak, okay? Anyways, long story short, I typically don't smoke weed every week. I definitely don't smoke it every day. Definitely don't even smoke it every week, but lately I'm smoking it like every other week, at least once a month. Okay, and sometimes it's not even like flower, THC based marijuana, it's CBD, which is different. I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay, so with that said, so this past weekend, before I smoked for 4 days in a row, I had completed a hike up Mount Whitney, which is it is the tallest peak, highest peak in the country, in the United States, other than Hawaii and Alaska. Okay, it's 10,505 feet high. It's a 22-mile hike overall, and it was very physically, mentally, and emotionally draining. And so, naturally, I started to wonder, is smoking weed after this trip something that is appropriate? And in my mind, yeah, it was appropriate. Now, what's interesting is that when my team leader, announced that we're going to be doing another hike next month, which is just as grueling, I started to freak out, because it wasn't in my original plan to do these hikes and to put myself in so much physical duress or stress. And I just started to freak out, point blank. I just started to freak out internally, emotionally. I was stressing out. And it turns out that when I decided to smoke that Monday, it was really, the intention was to run away from this stress I was feeling. It wasn't out of reward. It wasn't the intention was off. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I ended up smoking in a very similar way that I used to, which is like very mindless, very running away to something to feel good. And, along with that, I was eating very poorly. I don't eat poorly. That's not my thing. Not that I'm a clean freak, but, most of the time I'm eating a very mindful, conscious diet, like good proteins, vegetables, whatever, water. And I just noticed that my old lifestyle of smoking weed and not giving a fuck about anything had quote unquote returned, okay? And it's much less a return like, oh my God, it's back, I'm freaking out. More like I got a taste of what my life used to be like for those 4 days. And so the purpose in me sharing this with you is a couple things, or more than a couple things. But the first thing is for me to really be genuine and transparent with you guys in terms of what my relationship to marijuana is like. Both when I don't smoke it and both when I do, and as well as my past with it, as well as what I plan to do with it in the future. Um, and then another thing is I want people to understand that just a different paradigm, a different perspective on marijuana addiction, because the common one is like, don't do it because if you ever do it, you're gonna slip into depression or you're gonna slip into addiction and your whole life is fucked, right? That's one of the perspectives. And so I'm out here showing an example of what a life looks like after having an addictive past. Okay. And so by the fourth day, and mind you, in those 4 days, I finished 2 pre-roll joints. So that might have been like maybe 1.5, maybe 2 grams max. Probably not even then. But it was pretty, concentrated stuff. Anyway, so my point with this story, is that for those people who, well, let me just be more direct. So that was a lot of old habit stuff. That was a lot of not conscious smoking. That was reactive smoking. That wasn't proactive. That was me, like, stress reaction, knee-jerk reaction. And if you read my book if you've read my book or read my book, Marijuana Mindfulness, I forget what chapter, but I suggest for people who have yet to gain some self-control around marijuana that refraining from knee-jerk reaction smoking is important, because that's pretty much what we've been doing this whole time, is knee-jerk reaction smoking. Very reactive, very, I'm triggered, I need to smoke right now. Like, hardly very, Anyways, okay. So the next part of this is that smoking weed becomes this, like, survival mechanism, a coping mechanism for stress or what feels like an attack on our emotions or something. And so, because when I was smoking weed, it's not even like it was that bad, guys, but just the whole last 4 days, I just had a general mood and energy of, like, I don't want to deal right now. Like, I was barely mentally alive. Just very on, like, autopilot, animalistic, like couldn't not keep eating chips, and I don't think any of this is a big deal. I'm just pointing out, like, after spending the last 4 or 5 months very conscious, very high energy, very not a victim to weed or anything else, going back to that for 4 days was like, whoa. And so a message for people who are watching this and got to this point is, there is definitely a difference between using weed in a positive way and using it in a negative way. Meaning, like, it's one thing to use it to relieve stress one time. It's another thing to, like, use it to not face the thing that stresses you out. And that's definitely important. And so after the 4 days, typically in my past, I would freak the fuck out. I would be like, oh my God, I've ruined everything. I have no control. God, blah, 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 like, just, like, total judgment, total, like, super guilt. It's only been 4 days, right? What I do now is, like, I didn't freak out. I was very aware, like, wow, this is very similar to the old patterns. Like, I was able to kind of see it without the charge of the situation being so heavy and, like, having that much momentum. And so I just made a decision. I was like, okay, after I finish this joint, like we're done. We're good for now. And it wasn't this thing where I had to really fight myself about it. It was like, it was very objective, like from experience, like, oh shoot, like I know what this is and I know how to get control of this. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so Thursday finished my joint, and Friday didn't smoke at all. Today, Saturday, I was offered some weed. And that doesn't happen to me often anymore. But, you know, and I had to say no. And it could have been totally fine if I said yes. But, you know, it's one of those things where, at least for me, like, I need to demonstrate to myself that I stick to my word. I follow what I say. I follow my own plans. Because that's what's missing when, for people who don't have control with weed, there's no sticking to a plan. There's taken over by emotion, taken over by psychological triggers. And so, yeah, you know, and on that Friday, when I decided, you know, Friday, I'm going to cut it off for now. There were some thoughts like, dang, I wish I could just smoke. Like there were some very brief and not very powerful thoughts. And that just comes from the fact that I've had a lot of experience, overcoming the thoughts like that. And I get that, like, you know, it's just an emotion, it's just a thought, it's not something that I actually want to do. And so I guess, you know, we're 11 minutes in here, 11 and a half minutes, and what I want to share with people is, it's okay to smoke weed, like it's not a sin, even if you've had an addictive past. And B, you know, for a lot of us, we smoke weed, yes, out of habit, but it's like, it's much deeper than just a habit we formed. Like it's something that we use for a deep reason. That's my opinion, at least. And it's one of the best ways to cope. One of the best ways to cope. One of the fastest. One of the most effective. However, it does have this effect. And I'll tell you this. So it was sativa. It was indica. I'm sorry. It was indica marijuana. And boy, I felt it. Like, not only was I couch locked, but like I felt a lack of energy and motivation and drive. Straight up. And so I can't even imagine, I mean, I can't imagine like what it's like to smoke that every day. Like, God, like it was so hard to get myself up. And so I guess the last message I want to share with people is that, you know, let's say, you know, you find yourself back in a old pattern. Just limit the damage. Like if you went a day, great, limit the damage. Couldn't stop yourself, went 2 days, limit the damage. Went a week, just limit the damage. Like all is not lost. Look, if you work out every day for 3 months and then for a week you like eat whatever you want and don't do your workouts, you're like, it's okay, like it's fine. Like just as quickly as you went 7 days off, you can go 7 days on again. It's just a muscle that we need to develop. It's okay. Like, it's not about being perfect. Like, it was 4 fucking days. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, like, be proud or just learn. Like, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. That's the part that I had to really understand about this whole, you know, the weed journey is like, okay, like, it happened. Like, it's okay. No big deal. Reduce the judgment. Reduce the, like, perfectionism. You're wrong shit. It's all good. Like it's all good. And to be honest, like, and I'm so used to not being that person anymore that smokes every day that when I was doing it, it felt gross. Like, it felt fine when I was high, but it felt gross. Like, I'm so used to being someone who is on top of their shit, who makes conscious decisions, who can move their body despite how they feel, meaning like I'll go and do my workout even if I don't feel like it, you know, very in charge of my stuff. And when it wasn't going that way, like I don't like that. I don't like that, A, and B, I know that when I'm in that like hazy mode, I don't show up for other people in a way that can actually impact their life in a positive way. And that's not okay with me. Like, that's not okay with me. It would be like if Obama, like, when he was president, didn't show up as Obama, as like what, like if one day he just decided he's gonna dip and he's just not gonna show up, like that's not okay. For a leader, for leaders, that's not okay to not show up, because you feel and you know that you have this responsibility to show up, because other people depend on you. You know what I'm saying? Situations depend on you showing up. Anyways, so yeah, that's it for today, guys. Hope that this brought you some value. And if you have any questions or comments, comment down below. Obviously, my book will be in the description. I actually raised the price to $10, simply because I wanted to see what the sales would be like off of Amazon. And to be honest, like it helps me out more financially if the book costs more. For every $10 that's spent, I get about $7 from Amazon, and I think $10 is a fair price for the book. Anyways, so yeah, follow me on Instagram, Gabe GABE_Santos, and if you have any questions or comments or just want some help, comment down below. And yeah, have a great day, guys. I will see you in the next video. Peace.